Welcome to a new series of Wales This Week. Now, we've all seen the car stickers, a dog is for life and not just for Christmas. But how can responsible pet buyers be sure they're not being sold a pup? Well, for several months, ITV Wales has been tracking the highly questionable activities of one prolific dog dealer from Carmarthenshire.
She had terrible, terrible worms and fleas all over her.
Did you breed him?
Yeah.
Mr. Thomas! Mr. Thomas! Mr. Thomas!
Puppy farming, shame on Wales! Puppy farming, shame on Wales!
It's been a contentious issue in West Wales for decades. Protesters regularly voice their discontent over the number of puppy farms in the area. Last August, they were outside Carmarthenshire council offices.
It is known as the hub of puppy farming in the United Kingdom, which isn't something to be particularly proud of.
There are far too many puppy farms, especially Carmarthenshire. Sometimes I'm ashamed to say that I live in Carmarthenshire.
In the past, ITV Wales has exposed breeders who are raising dogs in poor conditions. There are now 87 licensed dog breeding establishments in Carmarthenshire, and these protesters don't think the council is doing enough to curb a trade that's giving the county and the country a bad name.
They're just being jailed in pens. They live there, they eat there, they drink there. Probably some of them even die there without even managing to get to a rescue at the end of their breeding days. It is so wrong.
On Goitra Farm in Carmarthenshire, Peter Davies has been breeding dogs for over 20 years. He says the area's reputation for irresponsible breeders is affecting his business.
Oh, it's a terrible stigma. We get people ringing us up for dogs, and as soon as they find out we're in Carmarthenshire, they just don't want to know. And they're always going on about Welsh puppy farming.
Peter has a licence for 75 breeding bitches, but says he currently has around 50. He'd like to see a crackdown on those carelessly breeding dogs in West Wales.
There's a thin line between puppy farming and the breeding kennels. We'd like to be called the breeding kennels, but unfortunately some people see us as a puppy farm.
New draft regulations published by the Welsh Government and currently in consultation suggest microchipping could become a legal requirement for all dogs in Wales. Peter Davies has already been microchipping for 3 years.
Members of the public usually have their puppies microchipped, so we think we're providing a service. They've got a record then where the puppies come from.
Peter's livelihood is the breeding and selling of his dogs. He feels that if it's done properly, there's no need for a middleman.
No, we sell all our puppies private. It's much easier, because you know where the puppies are going in. Once the dealers have them, you just don't know what happens.
Millie is a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. Her owner, Wendy Williams, bought the dog from a dealer in 2009. They live in the West Midlands, but Wendy believes the dog was born in Wales.
I had a look on the internet and found quite a few adverts, did my research, looked through breeders.
Wendy eventually found the perfect dog in an advert from the free ads. She was led to believe that the man on the phone was the dog's breeder, and she arranged for the sale to take place at her home. Wendy believed that she was about to get a young, healthy puppy, but she couldn't have been more wrong.
Millie was really ill 24 hours after getting her. She was violently sick, she was having breathing problems, she'd got diarrhea, which was just pure blood, which was very alarming.
The campaign group Puppy Love told us a dealer from Wales had sold the dog with the potentially fatal parvovirus.
The vet said that it was probably down to the way they'd been kept. They did believe that she probably came from a puppy farm. And her health was sent to be deteriorating.
During the first week alone, Wendy spent over £800 on vet's bills. The average dog owner spends less than half that in a year. This is the man who sold Millie, Hugh Thomas, who lives near Llandailo in Carmarthenshire. He advertises many breeds using different numbers and often tells customers he's bred the pups himself. Wendy tried to call him several times to tell him Millie was ill, but she never got a response.
I was very angry and I just thought this man needs to stop him from selling puppies like this. He must have known that she was ill to start with, but he just didn't seem to care.
Since we spoke to Wendy, we've had more complaints about Welsh puppies sold by Hugh Thomas over the border. Bognor Regis on England's south coast is another town where another family have fallen foul of Hugh Thomas. Jenny and her family also looked in the free ad papers for puppies. They eventually came across an advert for a pedigree border collie for only £160.
The man on the other end of the phone said that yes, he had several border collie puppies and he had about 6 girls and 4 boys. And did we want to have a look? And I said, oh yes, we'll drive up. When's a suitable time to drive up and see you? And he said, oh no, it's absolutely fine. I work sort of local to your area. I'll bring all of my puppies down and you can have a look and pick one that you like.
Jenny didn't have any doubts about the dog dealer after the initial call, but all that changed when Hugh Thomas arrived at her door.
And he saw about 7 puppies in the back, all different breeds.
Soon afterwards, Suki became ill, and yet another of Hugh Thomas's dogs was in need of intense veterinary care.
She's had terrible diarrhoea the first few weeks, absolutely explosive. It's just constant, really. There's always something wrong with her.
Suki also had suspected kennel cough, another potentially fatal illness for young dogs.
She still has the cough now, although she is allowed to go for walks and see other dogs. She still does cough.
Hugh Thomas has a pet shop licence from Carmarthenshire County Council. He needs this licence so he can sell dogs as a business. It also means that he can keep puppies for sale here at his home, in sheds that have been inspected and licensed. After hearing the complaints about Hugh Thomas and his poorly dogs, we decided to see for ourselves how he operates. We set up 2 undercover meetings with the dealer in the south of England. The town of Worthing is a 4.5-hour drive away from his home near Llandailo. By mid-morning he arrives in a lay-by. He's carrying a chocolate Labrador.
You got here in the end then?
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Mr. Thomas tells us the dogs are purebred and that he's the breeder, even though we know he doesn't have a breeding licence.
This is the pedigree paper. That's father, mother, grandparents, great-grandparents.
This is the... Are these your dogs, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a father, that's a mother, and grandparents.
But the name Hugh Thomas is not on the papers. They suggest a Mr. Evans bred this dog.
So you've got the mum and the dad?
Yes.
It is illegal to sell animals in a public place, such as this lay-by. We caught him red-handed doing just that.
Well, that's $3.20.
Thank you. That's yours there.
After receiving £320 for the chocolate Labrador, Hugh Thomas is on the way to his next sale. Little does he know that ITV Wales is the next customer as well. He arrives at the door with a West Highland Terrier. Mr. Thomas again says that he's bred this dog, but the paperwork shows that a Morgans is the breeder, a name we've seen before.
Did you breed him?
Yeah.
Is that you, Miss? It can't be you. It says Morgan.
Yeah, that's my partner.
Oh, right.
Partner, yeah.
that's the only breed you've got?
Yeah.
But we know that Mrs. Morgans is married to Mr. Morgans and is not Hugh Thomas's partner. The terrier should have a distinctive white coat, but this puppy's appears to be filthy.
Well, he had a bath 3 days ago, right? But he's been out in the fields again. 2 days ago, he's all white.
Oh.
Really white. He went with his mother after rabbits yesterday, and she was scared.
He charges almost £300 for the scruffy puppy and is soon on his way again.
Okay,
right,
hey, thank you very much.
Right,
okay.
thank you.
Thank you best.
Thank
okay,
you.
go now. Oh, Bonzo, come on, eh? Where are you going?
Immediately after buying the dogs, we went straight to local vet Andrew Ash to find out if they had any health problems.
He's got slightly mucky old ears here, but the treatment we give him for fleas will take care of any ear mites that he might have.
Overall, our chocolate Labrador seemed fairly healthy. However, the same wasn't true of the West Highland Terrier.
And he's got a dirty, fairly smelly coat on him for a Westie.
Yeah.
You can see if I lift him up, he's got quite a bit of a pot tummy, and that's not a fat tummy. He could have a little bit of a worm burden there or something like that.
After inspecting both dogs, the vet had concerns about their upbringing.
He doesn't look like he's come from a good caring breeder.
A year after buying Millie, Wendy and her partner decided to buy another dog. Her partner made inquiries unbeknown to Wendy and arranged to meet a King Charles Spaniel breeder at a local car park.
I only knew that morning when I got in the car to go and meet this person with the dog. And it wasn't until we got there that we realised it was Hugh Thomas again.
Despite her experience with Millie, Wendy felt an instant responsibility for the new puppy.
As soon as I knew it was Hugh Thomas, I could not let Archie go back. I couldn't let him go back with that man to suffer more.
Just like Millie, Archie also had health problems.
He suffers with anxiety. He cowers when you go to stroke him. It's very concerning that both dogs have got health problems and Hugh Thomas has been involved in both dogs.
We've checked with Carmarthenshire Council, and although Hugh Thomas has a licence to sell, he doesn't have a licence to breed. So where do all his puppies come from? During our investigation, farmers with the surnames Evans and Morgans from Ceredigion have appeared on the paperwork that Hugh Thomas provides with his dogs. With evidence of many of his puppies becoming ill, we decided to take a look at the farms where the dogs may have been bred. This is the Evans farm. They're licensed by Ceredigion Council to breed dogs. We showed our footage to vet Maleri Tweed.
There's a number of things obviously of concern under the Animal Welfare Act, and one of the key things has to be the provision of fresh, clean water at all times. We saw not one but several kennels at sort of a given time without any water or with dirty water.
Both the Animal Welfare Act and the Welsh Guidelines on Animal Welfare state that dogs must have access to fresh, clean water at all times.
The amount of soiled material, the faeces and urine in the kennels is a concern.
Would it be a counter-argument that, you know, the dogs will have been cleaned, it's just that we filmed just before cleaning time?
Many of the kennels had volumes of faeces that I would find very difficult to believe that those dogs had produced in one day.
In a statement, Mr. Evans said, "I deny any allegations that dogs in my care are being neglected. Cleanliness is of high importance, and I ensure that I provide a clean and suitable environment for the dogs every day." Mr. Evans also told us that the council have conducted 3 spot check inspections on his premises in the last year and noted that everything was perfect. We also visited a shed at the Morgans premises. This farm is also licensed by Ceredigion Council. Once again, the vet was immediately concerned with our findings.
The provision of clean, dry bedding, again, that's something that's sort of stated in the Animal Welfare Act, that they do need a comfortable place to lay. There should be a bed for each dog, and there should be comfortable bedding, dry bedding provided for them. Most dogs, if given sufficient exercise outside, would choose to toilet away from their beds and away from their food and sort of core area of living.
In a letter to ITV Wales, Mrs Morgan's solicitor said she had been a breeder for 15 years and had never received a complaint. She met the requirements of the Animal Welfare Act and Welsh Government guidelines. Mrs Morgan's vet described her as a responsible breeder who ensures the welfare of her dogs is a priority. He added that the kennels had recently been refurbished and that Mrs Morgan's managed the unit to a high standard.
Do you think there are breaches of the Animal Welfare Act in every place that we've looked at?
I think we've certainly seen sort of elements of care for these animals that are below the standards required for the Animal Welfare Act.
Ceredigion County Council told us they conducted on-the-spot inspections of both the Evans and Morgan's farms in December. They concluded that the breeders were abiding by the Animal Welfare Act. However, the council invited us to share any evidence with them so they could decide whether it could be used in any legal proceedings. We've seen the name Morgans on Hugh Thomas's paperwork before. Millie's pedigree certificate has 2 addresses on it. Both have the surname Morgans and both are in Ceredigion.
Obviously, these people are involved with Hugh Thomas for him to be able to get puppies from them.
So we contacted the supposed breeders to tell them about Wendy's sick dog. And Mr Morgans told us they had only one bitch to breed from, and he remembers selling pups to Hugh Thomas in 2009. But he couldn't understand how Wendy Williams got their paperwork for Millie, as he believes he sold 2 males to Hugh Thomas and no female pups. So does the paperwork prove where a puppy's been bred?
There's nothing here to link this certificate to this puppy. We know it's a Labrador male 7 weeks old chocolate, but that could describe hundreds of puppies in this country at this time. If he was identichipped, then we could link this vaccination certificate to this puppy.
Andrew Ash believes that microchipping is an essential practice that must be enforced to regulate the puppy farm industry.
I think anything that makes puppy farmers' lives more difficult will be a good start. The hygiene levels and the healthcare need to improve greatly. Microchipping, more veterinary inspection, more inspection of the facilities will all help put pressure on this industry to improve itself and get better.
We know that Hugh Thomas now holds a pet shop licence at his home in Carmarthenshire, but we understand he's been renting land at nearby Llethamawr Farm, and we've discovered he once held a pet shop licence here. But in 2010, the council revoked this licence because the building where he was keeping the dogs didn't meet the necessary standards. So for 8 months, we know he wasn't licensed to sell at all. But ITV Wales has evidence he continued to deal in dogs during this time. We've been following Hugh Thomas for 7 months now, and we've seen him going back and forth to Llethamawr Farm. We've been told he was still keeping dogs there without a licence. So we went to see for ourselves. What we saw in a barn at Llethamawr was some 30 puppies of many different breeds cooped up in dark pens.
These puppies at this age, many of them won't have had any vaccinations. If they have had any, it's likely to only have been their first vaccination. They should be kept separate because obviously there's a risk of introducing new disease to animals if you're mixing from different sources.
When we asked Hugh Thomas about the dogs in Llethamawr, he said they weren't his. He then refused to be interviewed about any of the allegations being made about him in tonight's programme.
Mr Thomas, pan bo chi'n gwrthod neu cyfweliad I raglenni, Mr Thomas?
We asked Mr Thomas if he'd bred this dog. We asked him why he was deceiving customers by telling them he's the breeder. We asked him if this dog was ill like many of the others he'd sold. He wouldn't let us see the paperwork for the dog in his arms. He didn't seem to want to answer any of our questions. We asked Carmarthenshire County Council for a response to our findings on Mr. Thomas. They told us that they were now investigating his activities and that they'd want to look at any evidence that we had uncovered. In November, a group of small-scale breeders were gathered outside the Senedd. They were there to hand over a petition outlining their discontent with current dog breeding legislation.
You know, what is the matter with them? The Welsh Assembly were pushing for one person for 20 dogs last year, and now all of a sudden it's all right to battery farm dogs in Carmarthen? I don't think so.
They want an independent inquiry to improve the animal welfare standards in the dog breeding industry in South West Wales.
Wales has a reputation of being the centre of puppy farming in the UK. The only way you will find out what's happening and why these businesses are allowed to exist will be through an independent inquiry.
But it's already too late for many of Hugh Thomas's customers, who've spent hundreds of pounds in vet bills and who may never know who bred their dogs.
Do you ever feel guilty that your actions are enabling Hugh Thomas and the puppy farmers to continue with their work?
Yeah, I do. Very much so. Had I not given him that money, then if people didn't pay money out to him, it would have to stop, because what would he do if people weren't buying puppies off him?
Jenny Harrison's puppy Suki is now 4 months old and, while on the road to recovery, is still making regular trips to the vets.
There are so many adverts and so many different breeds, and when I saw sort of 7 or 8 puppies in the back of the car at £160 a time, that's a lot of money, and he's clearly profiting from the misery of small animals. It's absolutely disgusting.
Next Tuesday, we'll be on After News at 10, looking back at some of the